Charlie Kirk was a misogynist, that he hated women. The reality is Charlie Kirk loved women enough to tell them the truth. Throughout the last several years, when I pitched my ideas, Charlie replied by saying, let's go flip culture upside down. He let me create my first show, Poplitics, covering pop culture from a conservative perspective, which eventually evolved last year into the wellness podcast I now host called Culture Apothecary. Charlie wanted to fight the culture war and win. And on Culture Apothecary, I talk about healing a sick culture in order to win the culture war. We are sicker than we've ever been, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So I interview the experts about relationships and parenting. We even talk about theology. We talk about corruption in our food system and the pharmaceutical industry, which is keeping Americans sick. And we do it all through the lens of truth. Charlie knew that if we wanted to win the culture war, we have to start at home with the women, the real change makers, the culture shifters, the ones who hold the key to revitalizing the American family and therefore our nation. It's women. I told Charlie that MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, was the way to reach the young moms. I told him women may not all exactly agree on your gun stance or immigration, but they did agree on one thing, and that is that America was sick, that our children are on a downward health spiral that cannot be ignored. Charlie trusted me, and he said, then let's seize the common ground. Let's make TPUSA MAHA. That choice may very well have altered American history because it was Charlie Kirk who called and urged Bobby Kennedy to join forces with President Trump. American children today have a chance at living a long, happy, healthy life because of Charlie Kirk. And now it's on all of us to heal a sick culture, not just Charlie, not just me. The fix is not going to come by seeking useless compromises with the people who have poisoned us. It won't come through comfort and sitting idly by, tweeting from the sidelines. It will come through courage. You are never going to heal a sick culture by blending in with it. You will only heal a sick culture by standing out apart from it. And I don't know what each of your stories are, but I do know this. Each of you came here tonight for a reason. Your calling might be loud, like Charlie's or like mine. It also could be as quiet as a whisper. Your call might bring you to a stage like this one, or it could keep you in your living room. But your call is real, and I suspect that you know as much, and that maybe you've been avoiding it just a little. Charlie Kirk refused to waste a single moment. Every second of his life was deliberately spent with his family, in devotion to the Lord, advancing the mission of TPUSA, or fighting to preserve the soul of America. It was as if he sensed time pressing in and on him, some inner clock reminding him how fleeting life was. And so he lived urgently, purposefully, driven to make every minute count. Do you feel your clock ticking? It is for each of us. And the good news is that you and I have the same time in a day that Charlie Kirk had. And I want you to remind me of that when I can't find something to wear. So now let me ask you, will you waste yours? Will you rise up? Ever since Charlie was taken from us, this nagging thought has been there. I could do more. I should do more. I've wasted too much time. And I'm willing to bet that those same thoughts have entered your minds as well. All of us could have done more in the past. We have an opportunity now to do more in the future. The lesson of Charlie's life is that one person fully surrendered to God and fully fearless in the face of the wider culture can change the course of history. We have to stop standing in our own way. Are you insane enough? Are you based enough? Be honest about what it is that's stopping you. If you are addicted to ultra-processed food that is slowly killing your body and mind and keeping you from having the force of energy that you need to take back this country, now is the time to quit. If you're too busy scrolling on your phone to lead your family, it's time to put the phone down. If you have been stagnating in a long-term relationship without a proposal, I'm a girl's girl. It's time to nail it down or break it off. If your idea of pursuing a woman is with a snap streak, in the words of Demi Lovato, get a job, stay away from her. No more coasting like life will last forever, because as we learned a couple weeks ago, it won't. Maybe it's time to have kids instead of waiting for the perfect time. Guess what? There's never a perfect time. You will never have the perfect house for kids. You will never make enough money. As Charlie liked to say, have more kids than you can afford. Perhaps it's time to pull your kids out of public school and teach them yourself. Time to stop believing Satan's lies that you are unqualified, because there's no one more qualified to teach your child than you. Ooh, I hope you feel it, because we are about to raise the most Christian, conservative generation America has ever seen. And it will be in honor of Charlie. If you stopped going to church a few years ago because life got too busy, then the time to head back is now, not later. If you've never stepped foot in a true Bible-believing church, I can help you find one. If you're already going to church, ask yourself, when was the last time you shared the gospel with a non-believer? Do you know how? Break the chains, put down the phone, step up, lead your family, heal your body, take back your home, reclaim your future. Ooh, I'm not done. Let's get convicted up in here. You're here, you've got the TPUSA shirt on, you've got the lanyard on. You've posted about being here tonight on Instagram, but have you taken the next step? Have you started a chapter? Have you joined one that already exists? Have you prepared to door knock with Turning Point Action ahead of the midterms? Are you plugged in with a Turning Point Education homeschool co-op near you? Imagine a nation where children grow up fearless and faithful, where fathers lead with courage and not passivity, where mothers prioritize the home, where truth is spoken without apology. That is the America that Charlie Kirk envisioned, and that is the America that Erica Kirk will spend the rest of her life carrying on. And not because Erica ever planned to, not because she wanted to, but because she has been called. You are being called. Are you listening and paying attention to what it is you are being called to do? Are you ready at a moment's notice to say, yes, God, here I am, when he says, go? That baby's dancing in the crowd. That baby liked what I had to say, yeah. If you have been afraid of being judged by your sorority, of being judged by other parents in dance class, by being judged by your coworkers, even your own family, if you are more afraid about being liked than standing with the truth, repent. That fear is not from God, it is from the enemy. It is a sin. God does not call those who are qualified, he qualifies those whom he calls. Charlie lived such a full life because he lived it free from fear. He placed his total trust in God to fill in the rest. That courage let him do and say the things that others wouldn't. He talked fearlessly about abortion. He talked about saving yourself for marriage. He talked about Islam coming for the West. He talked about drag queens in preschools. He simultaneously loved Israel and believed that we should be free to criticize their government. No more, no less. Charlie was continuously mocked and ridiculed. He was misquoted and shamed. He was lied about. And finally, in the end, he was murdered in this very state. There will never be another person like Charlie Kirk. God doesn't send carbon copies of his faithful servants. But you don't have to be Charlie. You don't have to have a podcast or be on a stage like this one. You just have to be ready to obey God. Repent from the sin that is controlling your life. Join that church group. Delete that toxic app. Propose to that girl. Have that baby. Be a mother. Be a father. Live with holiness and lead with conviction. We fear God, not the left. You are called, you are needed, you are chosen. Charlie Kirk lit a fire, and now it's in your hands. Charlie wanted me and all of us to be absolutely tenacious and insane in the best way, to be unbelievably based. If you're not making the mob angry, you're not standing for anything important. Utah, are you ready to heal a sick culture? Thank you so much, Utah. Thank you. We love you.
Hi, I'm Mike Lee. I desperately wish I could be there with you in person, and under any other circumstance I would be, but the combination of the threatened Schumer shutdown and at the same time the Senate votes scheduled this week make that impossible. So my virtual appearance will have to suffice for now. But it really is an honor and a pleasure to be asked to pay tribute to my friend Charlie Kirk. And when I say friend there, I genuinely mean it. I've known Charlie since he was a teenager. I was introduced to him by someone who explained that he had decided, rather than going to college, to devote himself to the betterment of the Republic, to explaining to college-age audiences around the country the importance of the U.S. Constitution, of federalism, of separation of powers, of free markets, of civil society. And when I first heard him speak, still in his teenage years, I was immediately captured by his message, and I knew that this was someone who was going to go places. I had my then teenage daughter with me at the time, who recently reminded me that that day I met Charlie, I immediately introduced her to my daughter as a future president of the United States. And indeed, he would have been. But that's really only the beginning of Charlie Kirk's contributions, the contributions that he did make, and like being president someday, the contributions that he would have made had he simply been allowed to live out his life. I still can't believe he's gone. A couple weeks after his passing, and still on a regular basis, I find myself wishing that day had turned out differently. We can't always understand the reasons why certain tragedies are allowed to occur, but this one definitely happened, and it's now up to us, the living, to take the signals from Charlie, from the life he lived, from the messages that he himself so capably championed throughout his life, to carry that message forward and to take his charge to make America as strong and as durable as it can possibly be, to enhance the American dream, to restore constitutionally limited government, and to educate and inform our fellow citizens about the myriad ways in which our system of government has been misused and abused by a small handful of elites who don't have our interests in mind and certainly aren't wedded to the ideals of the American founding and the U.S. Constitution. So what exactly do we need to focus on in his life? Well, there are a few things that come to mind right away. Charlie believed in the power of ideas. He knew that free speech in a society as diverse as ours is necessarily messy. But he knew that free people, when given the chance, can counter censorship effectively with the truth. They can outthink propaganda. They can overcome disinformation. Charlie understood that the cure for bad speech is not a ban. Rather, it's better speech. In the marketplace of ideas, truth does not fear competition. He taught us this and so many other things by example. And Charlie's example calls on us to confront error with reason, to meet hostility with courage, and to have the conversation even when it's uncomfortable. In fact, especially when it's uncomfortable. So where do we go from here? Well, we follow Charlie's lead. We live as Charlie lived, devoted to family, because Charlie understood no republic can stand if the home is weak. Anchored in faith, because without God, politics is like a ship without a compass. Committed to country, because liberty is not inherited by chance. It must be defended by choice. The pathway forward is not retreat. It is not bitterness. It's not silence. It is engagement. It's courage. It's the steady, unrelenting insistence that truth matters and it exists. The enemies of freedom believe that by silencing a voice, particularly a voice as strong as Charlie's, they can somehow silence an idea. But ideas, especially good ones, are stubborn. They outlive us. They outlast regimes. They are carried, as Charlie uniquely understood, by ordinary men and women who simply refuse to be subdued. So let's do the same. Let us refuse. Refuse resignation, refuse despair. Refuse the lie that truth must be whispered. Charlie Kirk is tragically gone, but his example lives on. The highest tribute we can possibly offer him consists of lives lived in the pattern he set, lives of faith, family, and country, lives of conviction, strong enough to challenge the world, lives of charity, deep enough to change it. May Almighty God bless Charlie's family and his memory. May God bless Charlie's children, and may God bless this country he loved.
Please welcome Governor Spencer Cox, Representative Andy Biggs, and the Honorable Jason Chaffetz.
How we all doing? Welcome, everyone. How we doing, everyone? I was saying to everyone backstage, it's great to be in Utah. You know you're in Utah because everyone's hopped up on Mountain Dew. And Alex was calling people to repentance, like Samuel the Lamanite. So we like to see that. So it's good stuff. I love it. This is really, we wanted to host today. Hey, guys, appreciate it. We wanted to join everybody today just to kind of go back to the horrific events that happened on the 10th of this month. There are tons of people on the stage that we have today that have different perspectives all around the horrible murder of my friend Charlie Kirk. And so we wanted to first thank, particularly the men and women in law enforcement here in the state of Utah that have been so incredible. And those of you that are here right now, thank you for being here. God bless our police. In addition to that, wanted to thank all the medical personnel that helped that day, especially at Timpanogos. It was a horrific day for so many, and just the best of the best in the state of Utah were there to try to save Charlie's life, and everyone should know that and know how incredible that work was done. So God bless those medical personnel that did everything they possibly could do. Lastly, I wanted to recognize who was at UVU on the day of. If you wouldn't mind standing up, because we just God bless each and every one of you, especially those students. God bless you. Thank you for coming back. God bless you. So I wanted to start today just by going back and kind of taking us through. Obviously, we have 3 different perspectives from the tragedy that happened. I want to start with kind of what happened, and Jason was there that day with his kids. And so, how are you holding up? How are you doing?
It's tough. It's really tough. First of all, the United States of America is the greatest country on the face of the planet. Only in a country like the United States can you have a tour with a person like Charlie Kirk going out and speaking his mind and talking to people. And the tragedy is still very raw. I think it is for all of us. This is still, I traded text messages with Charlie. I was excited because he was coming to Utah twice. That morning, I was going to go out with ICE. I did go out with ICE. I invited him to come with us. said, Charlie, come with us. It's always fun. And he's like, I don't know if I can do both. And
Charlie would never turn down a trip to
Yeah,
ice if
yeah.
he could squeeze it in.
he would have, yeah. And but I also had a daughter who had recently graduated from there. She's newly married. Her and her husband were there. I was there. My wife was parking the car and coming in. And then that shot was fired. And I was watching Charlie. I saw it. I saw him fall back into his left. And it was scary because you didn't know if there was going to be more shots fired. You know, you see some of these shootings and you didn't know if that was the end. So my family, there were 4 of us there, but there were 3,000 people there that lived through that terror and that trauma. And that should never happen here. We have a lot of us, not all of us, but we have a lot of us that are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Good to see some Mormons here. Thank you. That all of us are members
We've
of the church.
updated our name.
All
along
of us
the
are
way,
members
so-
of the church. I call us Mormons. They're my people.
We understand what you're saying.
I get
we
it.
get it. We get it.
We're all members of the church.
Well, we had an unimaginable scene just on Sunday in Michigan. I guess what I learned from this, though, is the heroism and the resiliency. And we're going to talk more about this. But this, to me, this guy right here, he was standing 10 feet from Charlie when it happened. You have Michaela and others who've lived and worked with Charlie for a decade. I knew Charlie. I was friends with Charlie. I'd seen him on the set of Fox and Friends because he was guest hosting. But you were right there. And to the greater Turning Point audience and family, led now by Erica, what a strength, what a pillar. And I'm glad you're here with us now. So.
Well, thank you so much, Jason. Governor, I want to start by just complimenting the amount of work that went in from the state. Your guys' team was incredibly on top of it. I think the Health and Human Services Secretary had contacted me directly and was in the midst of all of that. What was kind of going through your head at the moment that this happened? And, you know, how, I guess I can kick this off because I think what we're going to do is we're going to go through some questions.
Yeah.
And we're going to open up discussion if that's okay with everybody. And then we're going to take some questions from students at the end of this.
Yeah.
But how has that changed you politically? Where are you at since that? Bring us back to like the moment that where you are, and where are you at? Where's your head at today?
Yeah, so I had several speaking events that day, and we.
I'm gonna do the Charlie Kirk thing and say, guys, let's facilitate a conversation here. I promise that we'll get to the end of it and then we'll ask questions. Is that cool? All right, I love it. Thank you.
So,
By the way, this is the most Turning Point thing ever to have Fox News, Governor Cox, and Andy Biggs, the former Freedom Caucus chair, all together on a stage.
right.
That's the most Turning Point-esque thing ever. So let's appreciate that. So where are you at?
Tyler, welcome to my alma mater. It's incredible to be back at Utah State University, and we're so proud that Turning Point picked Utah State University. And look at the turnout, the largest crowd ever. It's unbelievable. These are my Aggies, and Aggies are special. Look, so that day I had several speaking engagements, and I was back at the Capitol when my assistant came in, and she pulled me out and she said, we need you immediately. That's never a good sign when you're the governor. And I walked out, and there was a captain in our highway patrol, and he said, there's been a shooting at Utah Valley University, and Charlie Kirk has been shot. And even as the words are coming in, I'm having a hard time processing them. I said, that can't be. And I said, are you sure? Because sometimes when these things happen, there's a fog of war and you get bad information, right? And so somebody handed me their phone and the video was already there. And I wished I hadn't seen that video. I can't unsee it. I know that's true for so many of you, and especially those of you who were there. And immediately, 30 seconds later, there was a call from the White House, and it was from the Situation Room. It was Marco Rubio. He was there. The Secretary of State was there for something else. I've known Marco for years. We're friends. And he said, hey, what is happening? And I said, Marco, nobody can tell us exactly what's happening. So then it's just, it's go mode. You get everybody together. And we were just trying to figure out which hospital was he at? What's the latest? And we were in constant communication. I spoke to the president, to President Trump less than an hour later, and we kept getting the information back, and it was looking worse and worse and worse. My first thought was just, please don't die. Like, please, just we got to keep him alive. And then I knew about Charlie's wife. I knew he had 2 little kids, and that's the humanity of all of this, right? And I think it changed all of us because what I realized very quickly is this was an attack on Charlie Kirk because of his political beliefs. And we knew that. And it was a political assassination, and people were afraid to say that. We should not be afraid to call things what they are. That's what it was. The second thing that mattered was we have to find the person responsible, and we have to hold them accountable, and we will do that because I know our law enforcement here in Utah, and they are the best in the world. There was no way that this person was going to get away with it, and they came through. The third part, though, was this was more than just an attack on Charlie Kirk. This was an attack on free speech. It was an attack on America. It was an attack on American ideals. It was treasonous. It was, we have not had a high-profile assassination like this in my lifetime. I'm 50 years old, so it's been 55 years since we've had anything like this. And the weight of that sitting on all of us. And the fourth thing I knew is that Utahns weren't going to riot. They weren't going to start cars on fire. They weren't going to respond with violence.
Isn't that interesting?
Because that's who we are.
Isn't that interesting? I'm going to get into that question in a second, but I mean, when's the last time you saw a left-wing speaker have to cancel their event on campus? When was the last time you saw, riots that came out of a left-wing just meltdown? We saw the Summer of Love, right? That happened in 2020 with everything. Our side did what? Turned to prayer. Everyone here, I think, that we saw across the state of Utah turned to prayer, and we saw that immediately. That's right. And that's a huge credit to every single person that's a citizen here. Andy, I want to jump in on this. You had a close relationship with Charlie. What do you think the hardest battle is that you foresee in this new political environment?
The country appears to be so chasmically divided. That's really part of our problem. I mean, we tried to have a prayer on an oral prayer on the floor of the House, and the Democrats shouted us down. Can you imagine that? Ever? It was amazing. I view that as when we want to talk about moving things forward for what's best for the country, kind of like the way Charlie did. He was always wanting to engage in debate because he believed our ideas were right. We're fighting people who want to crush ideas as opposed to engage and be willing to admit that someone else just might have a better idea. And that's the problem. And I will just say this about a lot of people wait until they're called to do something before they stand up to defend something. But Charlie didn't. Charlie and Tyler and TPUSA and all these, and all of you who are here, what you guys have done is you've seen the need to do something. And you've engaged, and you've put some oomph behind it. And you've done it with honesty, integrity, clarity, purpose, and principle. That's what Charlie did. And that, if we're going to go forward as a nation, we need to emulate what Charlie did.
Can I just... I haven't really shared this story, but I'd like to really quick because it's not about me, okay? But every once in a while, and this is not a regular occurrence, but I have the opportunity to interact with President Trump. And that night of the shooting at like 11:30 p.m., the president called. And now normally when President Trump calls you, and again, it doesn't happen very often, he'll say, "Hello, Jason, this is your favorite president, Donald Trump."
True. Yeah.
True story.
When he wasn't president, he'd say,
Yeah. I have a
"Hello,
voice
Jason, this is your favorite former president, Donald Trump." And then he went back to, "Hey, Jason, this is your..." He didn't do that this time. He called and he said, "How you doing? I've seen you on TV, and this is hard, isn't it?" And we had about a 15-minute discussion. Now,
Wow.
This is about the most amazing president you could ever possibly imagine. And I haven't even told you this part. And near the end of the conversation, I said, "Mr. President, how are you doing? You knew Charlie?" He said, "Yeah, this one really hurts." He said, "I don't know that I would be the president of the United States without Charlie Kirk.
That's true.
I really don't know." And it was just an amazing moment. The guy, I don't know where his energy comes from. It's never ending. But we had that amazing moment, and I know that Charlie was such a good friend, so inspirational, and did more for people under the age of 30 than anybody I've ever seen in our lifetime, and I hope that continues. It's so exhilarating to see so many people here. Just grab hold of that mantle and keep going. Don't ever slow down.
Totally agree. I want to get into some of the tough questions. And this is kind of, I'll open this up, but, I'll start with over in that corner here, since we just went with Jason. How do you both view the violent pockets of politically and religiously charged violence like Antifa and the group that what we just saw happen in Michigan this week, that have taken advantage of soft Christians, softer approaches with members of the church, and really the soft Utah approach that has enabled some people that are mentally ill? What's the viewpoint on that? I don't know who wants to take that first.
Go ahead.
So if you have constantly a group of people that you demonize and dehumanize, and you use the worst possible rhetoric, you are going to actually trigger some people to actually engage with dangerous and violent acts. And so that's what we've seen. I mean, and when you take a leader like Donald Trump, who is the leader I would assume everybody in here would acknowledge he's a great president and he's a great leader. And you've, let's think what he's done. Let's see, multiple impeachments, investigations. The FBI went after him before he was actually sworn in. And they came up with a Russian hoax. And the FBI did that with Clapper and Brennan. And when you see this kind of demonization that way, first of all, you kill trust in your government. And if you can't trust your government, all of a sudden, trust in your fellow man gets a little bit weaker. And the rhetoric continues to go strong. I get back to what I was saying about Congress. And some of the stuff you've heard from various members of Congress after Charlie's death have been to continue to perpetuate the very language that actually causes and inspires those who are not sane and who are evil to actually come after people. And you throw gas on the fire. Instead of, and that's exactly the opposite of what Charlie was doing. So I would just say, for instance, if you have rhetoric that demonizes the LDS Church, which if you remember, you've encountered that.
We had some of that this week.
We saw
a lot of it this week.
Much of it.
And it takes some.
And really, this whole month. I mean, this has been a rough month for
That's right.
a lot of members of the church. For between the death of President Nelson, we have the Michigan issue, and then obviously Charlie's assassination.
Yeah, all of this
here in Utah. It's crazy.
This attack on us It's going to trigger somebody like who may not have been rational, who decided he hated Mormons, and we were somehow demonic. And there are people who think we are demonic. That kind of rhetoric has got to end. And it's largely, as Alex said, it's coming from one side. And we have got to make sure that, that as we fight the fight, that we call that out and say, no more.
And Governor, that's my follow-up question here.
So
you've said some things that there's been some inflammatory rhetoric on both sides, and that you've coined the "disagree better" slogan. Is that really a both sides issue, or what's your opinion?
No, so I want to add to what Andy said here, because I think that's really important. One of the TPUSA staffers back there said this isn't just about left and right. It's about good and evil, right, up and down, and that piece really matters to me. And I think that's what we're talking about here. Look, there is a thread here. As Andy said, when you call people fascists and Nazis, well, we went and liberated Europe from fascists and Nazis. That is an evil. And when you try to convince people that people who aren't fascists and Nazis are
normal people, regular people participating in civic process.
That's exactly right. That we get accused of that. Here's two of the most dangerous trends that we've seen over the past few years. This idea that speech is violence is so wrong, and even worse than that, it's illogical. But it goes a step worse than that, because then they think, well, then violence is speech. And when you see everything through a lens of oppressor and oppressed, which again is so dangerous, because it allows you to justify things that you would never otherwise do. And you think that then, because someone said something that you don't like, that's violence towards me, which then justifies me being violent towards this person for speaking. And that's exactly what happened in this case. And that is a destructive mind virus in our society today.
So do you think... I'll let Jason hop in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So do you believe it is a both sides issue?
Look. Okay.
No, the answer to that is no.
The answer, that mindset that I just told you is only coming from one side. That mindset is only coming from one side. That idea that speech is violence and violence is speech, that is not coming from the right. It is not coming from the right at all.
We're only seeing it come from the left, I think, predominantly. That's what Andy said.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was trying to say, is this is not a both sidesism. I think there's a deeper problem here, and it's and I had to learn this myself, unfortunately, the hard way recently, and it's nihilism. I didn't even know what nihilism was. Right. Nihilism is this idea and this belief that you don't believe in anything. You don't believe in God. You don't believe in any sort of roots. You don't believe that there are morals. You don't believe that there is a good and bad. It's good and evil. You don't believe any of that. So if you look at it and kind of study it, and then you start to understand that for hundreds of years, this has been an issue. There are people that may have grown up in a conservative, idyllic household or neighborhood. Think of southern Utah. Think of Washington County. It's as beautiful as anything.
Think of Gilbert, Arizona.
Gilbert, Arizona.
There you go. That's it.
All right?
Yeah.
But it's...
You love Arizona.
But this nihilism takes root. And suddenly people don't believe that in anything. They don't have any roots in anything. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in these things.
And we've seen it here.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it here. I mean, we saw Drag Queen Story Hour in Provo.
Yeah. No.
I mean, we saw it not that long ago. We saw, again, I know we don't like BYU here, right? Yeah, I love it. Anytime we can get a boo for BYU, and I love it. So it's a great thing. You went to BYU. Did you go to BYU?
I was the place kicker at BYU on the football team. So
that's not the point.
I'm not too worried about it.
I'm teasing.
We soundly beat Utah State at the time. It's okay. It's all right. Kicked a lot of extra points here.
But we saw, again, that image of the Y being painted trans colors, right? Like that, I mean, that was an image that was like pretty jarring for those that are from Utah to see that like all around you, you have some of that evil that's just seeping in throughout the state. And I guess that's kind of like brings me to like some of those questions is, you know, is there a culture shift that's needing to occur, particularly after the events that have transpired over the last few weeks, that Utah needs to shift gears here a little bit? And how do we go about that?
So,
Go ahead, Jason. Go
So-
ahead.
Because there's been a soft approach in the state of Utah that has opened the door to the nihilism that you're talking about.
yeah, no, I think one of the lessons and things that is being taught by Charlie Kirk is that it's okay to talk about faith. It's okay to talk about religion. It's okay to talk about love of country. It used to be in politics not too long ago that the whole idea was, hey, you should really kind of separate the two. And now you've got this younger generation understanding, no, we don't have to separate the two. We can be sound, and we can give our message, and we can wear our faith proudly on our sleeves. And I think that is a healthy thing for a younger generation that is looking for roots, they're looking for cause, they're looking for affirmation. And Charlie Kirk, in many ways, gave a lot of us that have been involved in politics permission to go that extra step. I think it's only healthy for America.
So, can I? Yeah. Look, I want to. This is maybe the most important question that you've asked. Look, to the last question you asked, and I want to make sure I answer it correctly. There are violent people on the far right. It happens, and to say that that's not true would be a lie. Because it has happened, okay? Now, listen, but this piece really matters. The prophet I believe in that just passed away for the past couple years has been talking about peacemaking and bridge building. And he very passionately believed that anger never persuades and that hostility never convinces anyone. But that... Here's the connection I want to make. That is not soft. Peacemaking is not soft. It's the hardest thing you can do. And that's what Charlie understood. And this matters because there is a rift in our party. Charlie wanted to go in and he wanted to engage. And people that he talked to, people who were very different than him, people that disagreed with him, you saw those videos just now. He treated them with respect, he treated them with love, and he treated them with dignity.
That's right.
And that is not soft. But there are people in our party who don't want us to do what Charlie did.
Right.
They just wanted to call each other names or not engage at all. And we can't fall prey to that.
So,
that can't be us.
As a follow-up, that opens up a really interesting question for me. And this is a little bit of a tricky question, so I don't want to put anyone on the spot if you don't feel comfortable
We're
with
going
this.
to let Andy answer it.
Oh yeah, Andy can answer.
Arizona.
You know, you brought up the church. You know, is it time for the church to take mental illness a little bit more seriously and to identify with inclusion politics? And the community as a whole. When I say church, I mean the community as a whole, particularly in Utah. But what is the response on that? So, you know, we talk about, you know, we've got to be kind to people, but we also have to take some things very seriously and be tough.
Absolutely.
So how do you go about that? And just quick fire, what are some of the thoughts that you have that kind of go down the line with that?
Yeah, look, one of the things I want to be careful to do, the other thing my church teaches is that we all have agency and everybody is responsible for their own decisions. And look, the person who committed this horrific crime, that person is responsible for their decision. Not the church, not Utah, not someone else. That person is responsible. And we absolutely have to take mental illness more seriously in this country. And we have to get people help for what they're dealing with. And you know how you do that, though? Charlie had the answer to that as well. It's like, get off your couch, get off social media, get married, have kids, do something with your life. We have to have more grit and responsibility. So much of the mental illness we're seeing is caused by that.
Andy?
I'll be very brief. Charlie said you got to come to Christ, honor our Judeo-Christian ethic. Now, that doesn't mean you aren't honest. You have to be honest and call balls and strikes the way they are. And when you call balls and strikes the way they are, you can do it with respect and dignity. But I will tell you this, if you don't call balls and strikes, if you aren't honest, if you aren't speaking with clarity, purpose, and principle, you are deceiving yourself, and you're deceiving the person that you're having the conversation with. You have to be straightforward, and you're going to find that there are points of agreement many times. But there are times where you're not going to have agreement, and you do not have to give up your principles for that. You just say, this is where we disagree.
Do you think, as a follow-up to that, do you think that there's a space in which this inclusionary type politics has gone too far, where it's made the mistake of giving up on your moral compass, or the things that need to be fixed, that need to be addressed, the balls and strikes that need to be called?
Yeah, because here's the way it works. If I say what I think about something, all of a sudden there is no logical rhetoric going on. It's an immediate, and this happened to me the other day. You're a racist. Mm-hmm. You're a Nazi. You are a fascist. I'm walking down the halls of Congress. The guy's yelling at me, "You're a Nazi." I said, "Good morning to you." What? The issue is the other side will not hear our voice. If you want to see proof of that, watch any oversight committee hearing that we have, and you will see that that's the case.
So here's my personal experience. Those that preach the most tolerance are the least tolerant among us.
That's right.
And you've got to find the right balance, but I worry that we're putting too much tolerance. You do not need a man with junk in a woman's bathroom. End of story.
It's really the simple things, isn't it? So,
I didn't know that I'd ever be saying that out loud, but it seems like common sense to me, but it escapes a lot of people.
I'm gonna ask you one last question here before we go to some students who will have some questions, and we'll continue the dialogue. So what do you think for young people is the greatest threat for engaging in the political process today? Is it the violence? Is it the lawfare? Is it the threat of being canceled because you didn't sign on for, again, the policies that are the worst? We'll start with you and go backwards, sir.
I think my immediate reaction is you got to find a balance in life, right? And I actually liked what the governor said. Get off your phone sometimes. Go out, feel that grass in between your toes. Go up in the mountains. Go visit us.
Get off social media.
Find the right balance. There's a place for technology. There's a place for social media. I'm on it, okay? But you got to find that balance. And if you don't find that right balance, then you get skewed and you start diving into all these rabbit holes and all these conspiracy theories that are just sometimes flat out nuts. So find that balance. That's my immediate reaction to it.
Cool. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, in my estimation, the biggest threat to young people who want to live a valued life, a life with value, is that we live in a culture that doesn't value those values. They want to punish you. And what it is if you've ever watched a bunch of crabs in an aquarium, they always move in a herd, and if one breaks off to do on its own, they go chop in our society today. So they'll try to cancel you. And if they can't cancel you, they'll try to humiliate you. And if they can't humiliate you, they will resort to physical attacks on you. That's what you face today. And Charlie's answer to that was, be courageous, live a life of value and meaning, get out, get married, have children, come to Christ, and do something meaningful with your life, because life is bigger than you.
So, one of the things that concerns me, one of the things that I've railed against on the left that I hear so much is the catastrophizing, that this is the worst it's ever been, that we're all going to die from climate, that whatever it is, that the world is doomed and we are all the worst, right? I want to make sure that we don't do that on our side as well. This is the greatest country in the history of the world. We are living in the greatest time in the greatest country in the history of the world. We have... The last thing I will say here is I think we make a mistake when we tell young people, and I do this, I've given these speeches at graduations and commencements, we say, go out and change the world. It's not good advice, because the truth is that most of us won't change the world. I mean, Charlie Kirk's a rarity. And I'm grateful that there are people like that, but most of us, that will not happen. So what I've started doing is telling people, don't try to change the world. Go out and change your community. Change your neighborhood. That's how we make a difference. And ultimately, that is how we change the world. It's engaging one-on-one with the people who are different than us. That's how we make a difference.
Precinct by precinct. Precinct by precinct. Get involved in the local community.
And it is. It's neighbor to neighbor.
Well, awesome. We're going to turn over to some questions from our students. So we'll start in order here, just over here to the right. If you can just say your name.
Good evening, panel.
And then who you're talking to.
My name is Andrea, and my question goes out to Governor Cox. It's no secret that you and Charlie did not historically see eye to eye. There are multiple instances of Charlie calling you out for refusing to protect women's sports back in 2022, and even going so far as to say that you should be expelled from the Republican Party. Since Charlie's assassination at Utah Valley, you've seemed to change your tune about Charlie. How has Charlie Kirk's death personally impacted you?
Yeah, thank you. So, you know what? I don't know that my tune about Charlie has changed. I've learned a lot from Charlie over the years. That might surprise you. And I would hope that Charlie's...
was fired. And I was watching Charlie. I saw it. I saw him fall back into his left. And it was scary because you didn't know if there was going to be more shots fired. You know, you see some of these shootings and you didn't know if that was the end. So my family, there were 4 of us there, but there were 3,000 people there that lived through that terror and that trauma. And that should never happen here. We have a lot of us, not all of us, but we have a lot of us that are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Good to see some Mormons here. Thank you. That all of us are members of the church.
We've updated our name.
All of us are members of the church. I call us Mormons. They're my people.
We understand what you're saying.
I get it.
We get it.
We're all members of the church.
Well, we had an unimaginable scene just on Sunday in Michigan. I guess what I learned from this, though, is the heroism and the resiliency, and we're going to talk more about this. But this, to me, this guy right here, he was standing 10 feet from Charlie when it happened. You have Michaela and others who've lived and worked with Charlie for a decade. I knew Charlie. I was friends with Charlie. I'd seen him on the set of Fox and Friends because he was guest hosting. But you were right there. And to the greater Turning Point audience and family, led now by Erica, what a strength, what a pillar. And I'm glad you're here with us now. So
Well, thank you so much, Jason. Governor, I want to start by just complimenting the amount of work that went in from the state. Your guys' team was incredibly on top of it. I think the Health and Human Services Secretary had contacted me directly and was in the midst of all of that. What was kind of going through your head in the moment that this happened, and how, I guess I can kick this off, because I think what we're going to do is we're going to go through some questions.
Yeah.
And we're going to open up discussion, if that's okay with everybody. And then we're going to take some questions from students at the end of this.
Yeah.
But how has that changed you politically? Where are you at since that? Bring us back to like the moment that where you are, and where are you at? Where is your head at today?
Yeah, I had several speaking events that day, and we...
I'm gonna do the Charlie Kirk thing and say, guys, let's facilitate a conversation here. I promise that we'll get to the end of it and then we'll ask questions. Is that cool? All right, I love it. Thank you. By the way, this is the most turning point thing ever to have Fox News, Governor Cox, and Andy Biggs, the former Freedom Caucus chair, all together on a stage.
Sure.
That's the most turning point-esque thing ever. So let's appreciate that. So where are you at?
Tyler, welcome to my alma mater. It's incredible to be back at Utah State University, and we're so proud that Turning Point picked Utah State University. And look at the turnout, the largest crowd ever. It's unbelievable. These are my Aggies, and Aggies are special. Look, so that day I had several speaking engagements, and I was back at the Capitol when my assistant came in, and she pulled me out and she said, we need you immediately. That's never a good sign when you're the governor. And I walked out, and there was a captain in our highway patrol, and he said, there's been a shooting at Utah Valley University, and Charlie Kirk has been shot. And even as the words are coming in there, I'm
question is for
processing them. I said, that can't be. And I said,
free speech, and no one valued open dialogue more than Charlie. I know that he was a
bad information, right? And so
strong advocate for you. What did his support mean to you personally, and who was Charlie beyond the radio show?
So, TPUSA is all in for me, and that's going to change the very outcome of my election, if you want the truth.
There. And immediately, 30 seconds later, there was a call from the White House, and it was from the Situation Room. It was Marco Rubio. He was there. The Secretary of State was there for something else. I've known Marco for years. We're friends. And he said, hey, what is happening? And I said, Marco, nobody can tell us exactly what's happening. So then it's just, it's go mode. You get everybody together. And we were just trying to figure out which hospital was he at? What's the latest? And we were in constant communication. I spoke to the president, to President Trump less than an hour later. And we kept getting the information back, and it was looking worse and worse and worse. My first thought was just, please don't die. Like, please, just we got to keep him alive. And then I knew about Charlie's wife. I knew he had 2 little kids, and that's the humanity of all of this, right? And I think it changed all of us because what I realized very quickly is this was an attack on Charlie Kirk because of his political beliefs, and we knew that. And it was a political assassination, and people were afraid to say that. We should not be afraid to call things what they are. That's what it was. The second thing that mattered was we have to find the person responsible, and we have to hold them accountable, and we will do that because I know our law enforcement here in Utah, and they are the best in the world. There was no way that this person was going to get away with it, and they came through. The third part, though, was this was more than just an attack on Charlie Kirk. This was an attack on free speech. It was an attack on America. It was an attack on American ideals. It was treasonous. It was, we have not had a high-profile assassination like this in my lifetime. I'm 50 years old, so it's been 55 years since we've had anything like this. And the weight of that sitting on all of us. And the fourth thing I knew is that Utahns weren't going to riot. They weren't going to start cars on fire. They weren't going to respond with violence.
Isn't that interesting?
because that's who we are.
Isn't that interesting? I'm going to get into that question in a second, but I mean, when's the last time you saw a left-wing speaker have to cancel their event on campus? When was the last time you saw, riots that came out of a left-wing just meltdown? We saw the Summer of Love, right? That happened in 2020 with everything. Our side did what? Turned to prayer. Everyone here, I think, that we saw across the state of Utah turned to prayer, and we saw that immediately.
Right.
And that's a huge credit to every single person that's a citizen here. Andy, I want to jump in on this. You had a close relationship with Charlie. What do you think the hardest battle is that you foresee in this new political environment?
The country appears to be so chasmically divided. That's really part of our problem. I mean, we tried to have a prayer on an oral prayer on the floor of the House, and the Democrats shouted us down. Can you imagine that? Ever? It was amazing. I view that as when we want to talk about moving things forward for what's best for the country, kind of like the way Charlie did. He was always wanting to engage in debate because he believed our ideas were right. We're fighting people who want to crush ideas as opposed to engage and be willing to admit that someone else just might have a better idea. And that's the problem. And I will just say this about a lot of people wait until they're called to do something before they stand up to defend something. But Charlie didn't. Charlie and Tyler and TPUSA and all of you who are here, what you guys have done is you've seen the need to do something, and you've engaged, and you've put some oomph behind it, and you've done it with honesty, integrity, clarity, purpose, and principle. That's what Charlie did. And that if we're going to go forward as a nation, we need to emulate what Charlie did.
Last thing we can let happen is I haven't really shared this story, but I'd like to really quick because it's not about me, okay? But power and not step up to the plate and say, yeah, we got numbers. We got numbers. Thank you.
And I want to shout everybody out here, coming out here and just the USA chants that we're just rocking this entire building. That's the response afterwards. It's incredible to watch and witness. And God bless each of you, especially you for being there that day. We are praying for you every day, just like we are everyone else. So God bless you, my man.
Okay, my name is John, and my question is for Spencer Cox. What role should the state or universities play in combating misinformation after tragic events? And do you support any regulations of AI tools that produce false narratives?
Yeah, thank you. So, look, free speech is really important, especially on college campuses. And one of the things I admire most about Charlie was his willingness to go on to college campuses. I don't know that it's the role of a university to police information or misinformation, because the problem is who gets to decide what is misinformation? We've seen far too often that people tell us something's misinformation and then it turns out to be true later. So I don't like universities being able to do that. Now, when it comes to artificial intelligence, this is really critical. We're doing something in the state of Utah it's not being done anywhere else. We have an AI policy lab where we work with companies that are implementing those policies. I do not want government to be involved in the creation of AI or limiting the innovation of AI. We are in an AI arms race with China and Russia right now, and we have to win that. And we need the best innovators in the world here in the United States working on AI. Now, when it comes to the tools that are being used, we have to be involved as a state, and we have to be very careful. But we can't control information or misinformation, but the way those are being used. So right now, for example, there are AI companies that are trying to do therapy with AI. We're going to regulate that. We want to be very careful. These AI chatbots, especially for kids, that I think are absolutely evil. And I think we have to hold these companies accountable that are putting them out. These sex bots for kids, I mean, it's disgusting.
Terrible.
So there is a role for the states to play, but again, we have to be very careful with who's controlling the information.
If I look at you, you tell me what he said.
Okay, yeah, I know it's hard.
Come on up.
My name is Walker, and I have a question for Congressman Biggs. With increased polarization, what's your message to students who feel scared by political speech? How can we tangibly fight back without becoming violent?
I missed that last part. What do we say? Just you have to.
How can we tangibly fight back without becoming violent?
Yeah.
How can we fight back with
How do we fight back against the political speech without becoming violent?
So you have to know, first of all, you have to know what you believe. Okay, so you're not persuaded by somebody else's political speech. And then the next thing is you have to know enough so you can understand what they're saying. And then the third thing is, I talk to people honestly. I tell them what I think. I do it with clarity. I do it with purpose. I hold my principles strong. And sometimes they don't appreciate that. But there's no point in accelerating it, right? So sometimes I just say, disagree, I'm out. And I leave. I don't give up my point. I don't give up my viewpoint. And I don't let it get to the level of that. The other thing is, no ad hominem attacks. Why would I call somebody a name? No, I don't need to. My logic is crystal clear, always.
I've known Andy for a long time. The one thing I appreciate about Andy Biggs, he outsmarts the establishment all the time.
Yeah, and I'm kidding when I say...
Kevin McCarthy hated that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just kidding when I say my logic's always crystal clear, but my point is, at some point you have to know enough and be prepared. I mean, I was always impressed with Charlie because Charlie studied, I don't know when he studied.
Yeah.
But he knew so doggone much. And so when somebody would confront him, he could always respond because he was prepared. You know, they say God can't pull a ladle from an empty bucket. So make sure your bucket's full of knowledge and also with respect. And that's how I avoid violence. The other thing is, if you know there's going to be violence, make sure that you're safe. Make sure your loved ones are safe. And quite frankly, and I see this because I'll just share this number with you. This will blow your mind. Last year there were more than 9,000 death threats against members of Congress, the highest ever. This year there will be more than 40,000. We're already over 30,000. And so you need to make sure that you're wary. And if someone is looking a little like they want to fight, there's no need to fight because you're going to have to fight them with logic, and if they don't have logic in them, the battle's over. You've already won.
Watch out for crazy people, head on a swivel, and then fight people with logic.
Exactly.
Has anyone here, just as a follow-up to this question, who has felt angry since September 10th? Like most of the room is raising their hand. It's all about turning that anger into action, right?
That's right.
Is using those feelings.
That's right.
Into positive outcomes, which you can do through Turning Point at Turning Point USA. Turning Point Action will put you to work, particularly in Arizona. But yeah, absolutely, that's important. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next up.
My name's Kennedy Miller, and I have a question for Governor Cox. We are not going to stop talking because of the political assassination that happened to Charlie. So what concrete steps are you and the state going to take to ensure the outdoor debate style of events can still continue on college campuses while ensuring that students are safe?
So again, this is why this attack, I've heard people say, I heard it here, we shouldn't hold this event. There were a lot of people that said we shouldn't hold this event.
Lots of people, by the way, said cancel this. This is stupid.
That we should not do this. And I said absolutely not. You have to hold this event, right? I grew up on.
By the way, it would have been really easy for any of these guys here to say no to the call to be here, and so I appreciate everyone being here.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks,
We're not wusses here, right? That's at least.
This is why I say that attack was not just an attack on Charlie, it was an attack on all of us, because now we have to think differently than we thought before, and it makes it harder, right? There are people, if we have an outdoor event, who might feel like they don't want to come because they're worried that something could happen, and now we've just killed free speech, right? Because they don't feel like they can show up. So what we have to do is we have to be better. We're working with law enforcement to learn everything we can about what happened there and how we can stop that from happening. So using new technologies, having more security at those events. I hate it. I hate that we have to go through security to get into things because it feels very un-American to me. But I also know that we need to protect not just the people who are on stage, but the people who are out in this audience tonight. So that's my. I'm looking down here. We have almost the entire Utah State Legislature here. I want to thank all of them for being here, as well as some members of Congress. If you are a legislator, a member of Congress, I see our Attorney General. Will you please stand up so that people can see who we have here? And some of them are spread out in other areas because we didn't have enough seats. The Speaker of the House is here. Speaker Schultz is here. We've already been having these conversations, thank you, to make sure that we have enough funding for our universities so that we can hold these events. I mean, again, we'll be on roofs, we'll have drones. We're going to keep people safe so that we can keep doing this. We're not going to let the terrorists win.
Thank you.
My name is Olivia Stosich, and my question's for Congressman Andy Biggs. A lot of people have been really impacted by Charlie's death and motivated to get more involved. One of my biggest worries is that this momentum will slow down and eventually disappear. How can we get people to stay involved and let our momentum continue?
By you continue to invite people to come, it will continue to grow. And it's going to continue to grow. There's not a doubt in my mind. Charlie's martyrdom, if you will, is actually catalyzing the public broadly across this country. And a lot of people want to get involved. They simply need an invitation. By you being involved, being active, it's gonna really propel this thing. I had a staffer ask me. He said, my daughter goes to an East Coast university. She wants to start a new chapter. Who should I call? So I texted Tyler, and Tyler sent me the link. They had their first meeting, and this is a very liberal, left-leaning mid-Atlantic university, I won't say what it is, but they had over 100 people at their first interest meeting. And that's what I mean about getting involved, staying involved, and opening your mouth and not being afraid to act, because your energy will help the energy keep flowing throughout the country. And this movement is not going to die. It's going to actually explode and just be, quite frankly, the most prolific political, cultural, social phenomenon that we have probably seen in 100 and some odd years in this country, and it'll change this nation.
I want to add to that too. The Achilles heel to Saul Alinsky tactics and political violence and threats is truth, is spreading truth. So the more people organize and get organized and actually do the hard work on campus, in your groups, getting politically involved and active, the harder it is for the left to win. So it's important. Let's go next.
Hi, my name's Ava Montague, and my question is for the Honorable Jason Chaffetz. There are so many stories like Tyler Robinson's. He came from a normal Christian family. Then it seems that when he went off to college, he became drastically more indoctrinated. What practical steps do you plan to take, or you think the government should take, when it comes to higher education not evolving into indoctrination camps?
I think I heard most of that question. I think I heard most of that question. And first of all, thanks for being here. You know, it's beautiful night in Utah, fall colors. I'm glad you're here. There is. I like what Margaret Thatcher said. She said, first you need to win the argument, then you can go win the votes. But when you're talking specifically about somebody who becomes so radicalized, somebody who becomes so perverted in their thinking, somebody who is, there are people that see that and hear that and feel that, and they know, they see it. And we have to watch out for those. Those are our friends, those are our neighbors. It's not, law enforcement does an amazing job, but they can't be everywhere to everything. It goes to this question earlier about mental health. You know, we have a long, long ways to go to assessment and how we treat it. And I don't want to oversimplify it. Again, it also, I think, goes back to this degree of tolerism, that I just think there's some things, some actions, some places that are just, we should not tolerate them. And we should not put up with them. And we shouldn't have to live with them. And there has to be a way to balance their constitutional rights with our right for freedom, right? I'm wearing this shirt, right? Freedom, right? Yes. Freedom. Freedom is also your ability to live the life that you want to lead, the way you want to lead it. We're all children of God. And if we start with that premise that we're all children of God, we can deal with it compassionately, but it doesn't mean we have to tolerate some of the things that are being spewed. And when it crosses over that line to not just hatred, but it crosses over the line to say, oh, we're going to act out and thrash out in violence, those people need to be arrested. They need to be detained. They need to be booked. And some of them need to be incarcerated. So that has to happen, and it's not happening now. Nationally, locally, it's just not.
Tyler, can I just bring up something on that one, Tyler?
Sorry, what?
Is that okay? So I want to bring up something because you specifically asked about universities, right, and college. And one of the things that I've been most concerned about over the past couple of decades is the lack of thought diversity on college campuses. It's deeply troubling. And I want to give a shout out again to the legislature. We worked very closely with Utah State University on something that I think is groundbreaking. It will, over the next couple of years, it will be in every university in the state. But we're going to start teaching Western thought again to all of our freshmen in this is not, I want to be very careful. This is not conservative thought. We're not trying to replace forcing liberal ideas on all of our students with conservative ideas. This is the founding of Western thought. These are the great books. This is Aristotle. These are the Stoics. This is Marcus Aurelius. It's the great British philosophers and the Scottish philosophers. These are the people that, and it's our founders. These are the people that our founders relied on to start this great nation. This is what Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King, this is what all of us studied in college until about 20 years ago when it just became whatever you want to do is fine with us. And that's not okay. We have to have a foundation to even have these debates. And we've lost that foundation. And we're getting that foundation back here in the state of Utah.
All right, I think we're ready for our last question here. Thank you. Good question.
All right, my name's Chris Jorgensen, and my question's for Governor Cox. But before I ask my question, my wife made me promise to say, over a year ago, when we were sending out our wedding invitations, we realized we had a bunch of extra stamps, a bunch of extra envelopes, and a bunch of extra invitations. So we sent one to the governor's mansion as a joke, and not knowing that we would get a very thoughtful reply from you, Governor Cox, saying that congratulations on our wedding. So I want to say thank you for that. And I want to say thanks for how you handled the investigation surrounding Charlie Kirk's assassination. Tyler Robinson has been charged with aggravated murder. The state is seeking the death penalty. Why do you feel that capital punishment is appropriate and necessary in this case?
So, first of all,
good question.
Thank you for getting married. Thank you. Second of all, now I'm going to get like 1,000
Utah
invitations.
doesn't have a problem with that. Yeah,
Second of all, I'm going to get 1,000 invitations to the mansion, and so we'll figure that out. Third, look, I try to be very introspective when it comes to the use of the death penalty. I've thought a lot about this over the years. I'm going to be honest with all of you. It's something I've struggled with at times. I believe in small government. I believe less government is more. I believe that government power should be very careful in its exercise. And the most powerful thing the government can do is to literally take your life. Right? That is the ultimate power. It's taking away the most sacred right that you have. And it can only be used in the most extreme of circumstances. And I believe that there is no more extreme circumstance than what we saw happen here. Not just the way that it happened, not just the way it was impacted, but again, as we've all said before, that this was an attack on America. That this was treason. This was an attack on the foundation of and our ideals. And so we're going to follow the law as it exists. That's our duty, to faithfully execute the law. Same with the good people in Washington County. We've talked a lot about law enforcement. I also want to thank the Attorney General's office. I want to thank the Attorney's office in Utah County. This is heavy for them. They've never had to deal with anything like this, but I trust them to do what is right and to faithfully execute the law, and they're going to do that.
All right, thank you. We're wrapping up here. I have one last question. We saw the beautiful flag up here. Our last question for everyone. Old Utah flag or new Utah flag? We'll go one at a time. Old or new?
Should have never changed it.
Not old.
Just real quick.
I was told I'm not allowed to come back to Utah if I don't ask this question.
Utah has a governor's mansion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Arizona doesn't. I like the blue flag.
Yeah, the most political answer ever. They're both great. No, look, the blue flag is really important. This is our history, and this is our heritage, and it always will be.
Okay, last question.
Oh.
Utah or ASU this weekend?
Oh, jeez.
Wait, Utah or who?
ASU.
Oh. No, I'm going with if any team that's not playing BYU, I'm all about BYU. So as long as they're not playing BYU, I can root for the Utes. Yeah, no
Utes.
problem.
All right.
Sun Devils. It's ASU.
ASU.
Yeah. I mean, go Aggies, but if it has to be, it's go Utes.
Utes.
Yeah.
All right, everybody give it up. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Give our panelists a warm round of applause.
Hostile environment.